Yo, look at this, y'all. So, this is the very first time I've ever, at least I can think of, tried to grow sunflower shoots without soaking them first. It's just going horrible as of now. Peep game. I'm starting to see some early on-site molding pop off. And I happen to think that that's mainly because a lot of these things just weren't washed off. A lot of nasty things come in on seeds. The other thing is now they're going to take a little bit more time inside of my trays in a specific kind of condition, right? Basically can breathe life. So with that being said, I'm taking them all out of the stacks, changing the condition of whatever this funk might be. This is actually another time when you can actually hit it with some food grade hydrogen peroxide, knock it out with some of that, and then just water it down a little bit. Probably do those two things, and I'm pretty sure it will be okay. It's something that we needed to catch. Gotta use this because all my spray bottles broke. Just got this guy. Anyhow, it's kind of odd that this actually happened today because I wanted to bring you guys a video on just dialing in systems. When you start dialing in systems, when things like this kind of pop off, it's a lot easier for me, at least, to go into it with confidence, knowing that, okay, for the most part, this is all I really need to do. And my system is going to deal with most of this by itself because my system has gone through a lot of shit. It's seen a lot. It's already gone, since this structure's been up, it's seen right about a year, a little over a year now. Well, since, we've been able to put all the structure on, the mold has gone down tremendously. The system now is going to be able to develop its own type of defense against a lot of things like this. We're going to go through, spray a little bit of this good stuff on here, 10-to-1 ratio, of hydrogen peroxide to distilled water. And then I'm just going to knock this stuff on out. I normally will let that sit just for a little while, and then I'm going to go ahead and water these in again, and then I'm going to restack them. I'm just not going to do it as heavy. And from this point, we'll see what happens. Yeah, you know what? As opposed to me just putting this video out like I normally do, I'm going to go ahead and hold off. We're going to see together what happens. It's going to be a couple days. We're going back through and watering them down. So I didn't really even wait that long, and I went ahead and watered them down. Trying to kill off whatever initial stuff that I can knock out. That's why I sprayed that on there, because I really do believe that what I just did right now is more than enough to eradicate whatever funk this is. Like I said, we've already changed the conditions, which we've sprayed them with some food grade hydrogen peroxide and distilled water, and then we water them down again. Definitely recommend that you do your best to try to keep things going exactly the same way all the time. That's the one thing that you have control over. You know what I mean? Nature is going to do what nature is going to do. That's for outdoor systems. When you're indoor, you're going to have a little bit more of an easier time, I have to imagine. However, you still are somewhat plagued by outside. It's going to probably be a little bit easier because, like I said, even with us building out this structure, which is kind of a hybrid because we're in a greenhouse that is somewhat climate controlled, we are able to mitigate against a lot of would-be disasters. I would definitely recommend, you do get yourself into some structures that is going to, if you're not in one, would definitely suggest that you get yourself enclosed. Yeah, I've battled the outdoors, man. Even here in California, they're not always fun. There's a little bit more mold in here. See, a lot of cats will say that are root hairs. Like these are root hairs. Up closer to the beginning of our heating tube here. Odd that these ones aren't like that. But these trays, see at the bottom, are, pretty damn okay. But those are the ones that have been compressed the most, right? The ones that have gotten the most contact, of course, are going to be the ones that are going to be doing the best. Because they got the most moisture, they got the most warmth, and that is why they have the most funk. So some of these patches, these seem a little bit deep because there's way more organic matter on here. So I'm not sure. Like this might be a Dundada. That tray might be Dundada there. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. we have plenty of carryover trays, you know what I'm saying? So something like this happens, we're still fine. So I just sprayed all this stuff down again. Gonna let it sit here just for a little while, then I'm gonna water it in. That's why I don't mind going with that heavier ratio. I'm just trying to kill whatever is going on as fast as I possibly can. Like I said, the water itself and then the air itself is gonna do a lot in help to mitigate this, especially in this variety. If this was a broccoli or like a radish, this would be a completely different scenario for me. This would be a disaster. But thank God that's not one of these, you know what I'm saying? If this was a summer, I wouldn't even cover those back up. I would just let them ride. The moisture would be enough, and the ambient temperature would be enough. I wouldn't even think about compressing them down. But because it's not the summer and we're still getting kind of cold at night, and I don't know how long it's actually going to take me or them to become ready to a point to where they're not going to get stunted by the cold, I'm just going to go ahead and keep them compressed until they're showing me that they're all the way ready. Yeah. If you change the environment, I believe, fast enough, you have a really good chance in being able to eradicate would-be disasters. I think we caught this in time. Here's the two problems. One is unfortunate, but it has to be something that I have to take into account. We have the new heater here, which is, our new coils, right? The coils. So there's about 100... So there's about 116 degree water being pumped through this coils, right? Theoretically. I say that because, you have heat loss. So water is getting cool, whatever. But let's just say 100 degree water is going through this whole entire table throughout the course of the night, as well as day for now. So at the end of the day, what ends up happening, now have things becoming more mature faster at the bottom. It doesn't always happen this way though. Sometimes you'll skip the bottom one and it'll be like the middle tray. However, it's really doing a great job for me on all other fronts. This again was the first time that we ran our sunflowers without soaking them. It's not something that I plan on doing. We just got a really late seed order. These ones, as you can see, we soaked those ones. And so that's why we have a way better maturity. These other ones, they're going to take a little bit more time. But we are getting a lot. See, these guys right here, a lot of those trays, those guys they weren't seeded. And they're doing great. But that depended on where they were on the on this table. Here we go. All right, you start getting stuff like that, right? That's death. And what's surrounding it is that mold, right? Oh, my finger. See what I'm saying? Probably actually we'll just end up taking this out. There's no need to try to save that. This stuff's already done data. But the tray overall is already starting to look better, right? This is one of the worst trays. At the end of the day, what I'll do is come on back out. I'll check on them, see where we're at. And yeah, we'll go from there. Yeah, see, look at these. It's only been, I don't think it's even been an hour really for some of these trays. There was actually some really low ones like this. So these guys can actually be compressed. There's a bit too much water in this as well. These guys could probably actually be compressed a little bit longer. Yeah, so these guys got some time. Way better. Yeah, way better, yeah. The majority of those, if this was a summer, I wouldn't even cover those back up. I would just let them ride. The moisture would be enough, and the ambient temperature would be enough. I wouldn't even think about compressing them down. But because it's not the summer and we're still getting kind of cold at night, and I don't know how long it's actually going to take me or them to become ready to a point to where they're not going to get stunted by the cold, I'm just going to go ahead and keep them compressed until they're showing me that they're all the way ready. Always keep in mind, especially if you do plan on building out something that's going to be heating from the bottom, you're making even more now of a pressure cooker. Too heavy of a stack can actually be hurting you in the long run. Comes to my sunflower, when I know all I have to do is soak them, which at the end of the day for me is a lot easier because of the peace of mind it gives me as well as the freedom it gives me. It's gonna be cool here. I'm glad that I was actually able to catch this one, man. and show you guys what's gonna happen. Anyway, y'all, we'll catch you guys in the next couple days. We'll show you guys what's popping. All right, y'all. Here we are. I think it's like day 3. Anyhow, look at these things. Everybody's soaring, you know what I'm saying? We're looking really good. In fact, these are now the ones that had the problems, and that actually were starting from seed without soaking. They are now covering next week's crop. I think it's great, y'all. I'm not seeing any mold at all, really. I mean, there's remnants like this, you know, from the past and whatnot, but we're looking really frothy, baby. We're looking really good, y'all. Really happy with it. Yeah, I was figuring, man, seeing that yesterday, we did still see some mold that did pop up, especially in these back trays back here. This was the actual tray that I was saying was the worst. And it's looking really good, man. You know, there's a little bit here. We can actually go ahead and just remove it. We already know what it's going to become. I'm not going to spray anymore. Just get rid of that, you know? No need to keep it around. Getting out ahead of your mold issues, you know, I guess that's kind of just what this video is about. Over time, though, y'all, you just start to know, you just start seeing shit real quick, and then you know what's going to end up happening. Kind of just like right there, you know, I know what's going to happen, so I get rid of it. If I'm going to have a mold issue, honestly, y'all, I want it to be in sunflower, you know? Can you lose full trays of sunflower? Yeah. I mean, if I didn't mitigate against it, yeah, you know, I would have lost a lot of trays. If this had been a broccoli tray, well, I mean, it would never have been a broccoli tray. I would never put a broccoli tray in this type of situation. 3 days now since that infestation began, and look at how we going. Yeah, I wanted to go ahead and put this last video out because we did have a lot of mold popping up in these trays back here. So you have a little bit right here, but yeah, I'll just go ahead and get rid of it like that. There's not too much in these trays now. I'm seeing just a little bit. And now, I mean, like I said, I could just knock this out manually. The system's gonna take care of a lot of it for me. Just on the way that we do stuff, you know what I mean? Do I believe that the food grade hydrogen peroxide had something to do with it? Possibly. It might have had something to do with it, but I think a lot of it had to do with kind of just the system itself, you know what I mean? Once you begin to remove things or make it to where a pest or whatever the problem is uninhabitable, a lot of times you see that it just kind of goes away, right? It doesn't have the means to survive anymore. So just by me unstacking these, a lot of that mold right there, to me, if I had to guess, that probably within itself took away the majority of any kind of real problem. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't want those kind of conditions. It wants the kind of conditions in which it was growing and thriving in. So just by changing conditions a lot of times, it makes it to where I believe they just go away. Don't get me wrong. The food grade hydrogen peroxide, the whole mix, it's like an irritant. You know what I'm saying? It's like if somebody walked into your house and just started spraying you with something that you didn't like, man, that might sting or shit, I mean, hurt you or kill you, whatever. You know what I mean? You're going to want to leave or move from that spot. It's no different. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at a lot of this stuff. All I'm doing when it comes to a mold outbreak, as long as it's not too far, as long as I can catch it early enough, which you can do with all your varieties, y'all. You can catch it early enough with all your varieties. If you catch it early enough, you now can mitigate it real fast. You just have to know what it is that you're looking at. Sunflower, you know, That's all it really takes for sunflower. Kind of with all of them, really. The smaller seeds, it's just harder to find it because things move so much faster. You can do it, you know. But that's all, you know, that's all a part of keeping a well-ventilated room, keeping your procedures the same in terms of when you stack, you unstack, knowing your temperatures, knowing the climate. Here we are in winter. This is actually, we're finally here in California, getting to the part of the year where we're at our coldest, which is staying like a consecutive, like, or consistent, like low 40s, right? And low 40s, like that's like 46 and below, right? Throughout the course of the night. But that's cold enough to really stunt these and really make a difference in what it is that I get to take out to the next week's farmer's market. So I have to be on top of the heat and the warmth and stuff like that in this room or inside of this greenhouse, right? So you really want to take that into consideration, knowing your temperature. I find right about 50 degrees is right about the threshold. You don't want to get too much lower than that. Before you start to put on a heater or something like that, you know what I'm saying? Knowing all that stuff kind of allows you to mitigate in a really fast way. In fact, a lot of times, like I was saying, because the system is so dialed in, it's starting to do its own thing because, you know, and I am a part of the system, right? Us moving things around here. Because of that, that within itself just starts to take away a lot of would-be problems, you know, without us really having to worry too much about it anymore. So that's really nice. And then, of course, you know, knowing when you put something different in the system, therefore now your system's going to react differently, right? Normally, up to this point, this system, when it comes to sunflowers, is designed for a sunflower to be soaked, which makes the process of them being in the stack a lot faster than what they had to be in this time with them being not soaked, right? It's going to take them a little bit longer to germinate. When I'm putting them in the seed stacks, when I've soaked them, a lot of times they're already germinated. You know what I'm saying? I just need to get them a certain height. So they only stay a certain, you know, they're only within the stacks, like maybe 1-2 days. I try to get them out of the stack as fast as I possibly can, because at the smallest stage is when all your, I mean, any seed, just like anything, man, just think about National Geographic, man. What's the most vulnerable? It's the smallest in the herd a lot, you know, and the oldest in the herd. That's what the lion's going to go after. The more you can keep your seedling comfortable and away from any would-be pressure, you know, the best. So yeah, I try to get things out of my stacks as fast as I possibly can. I got to get that red cup out of here. A certain amount of time, you know, it's important to be able to trust your system, you know what I mean? Without you having to worry so much about what's going to end up happening. Because I think a lot of times us doing too much can actually cause problems within itself. I just try to stick with my system and trust my system, and I dig the results. These will be up in the next couple of days, y'all. To be honest with you guys, we might be able to get some of these up and out for Sunday's market. I already have other trays around for Saturday's market, so I'm not really worrying about it too much. All right, y'all, I'm just rambling, man. Really happy how this looks. For the most part, you know, that's kind of how we handle mold outbreaks nowadays. You know what I'm saying? We do have an off mold outbreak every now and again, but for the most part, it's just like that. It's cool that we caught that. That's pretty tight. This video was going to be something completely different, but I'm glad that actually all happened. Look at them, dude. These things all shining. They were coated. You know what I'm saying? They're coated with just mold. Hope this one helps. I think more than anything, this whole video is just about knowing your routine. Routine is just part of the system, because there's always going to be things that's popping up. The routines you keep, you know, you're doing them for a reason. You know, like the stacking and unstacking. The reason I have 2 days, 3 days to unstack a tray during a certain temperature, I understand that there's a certain type of mold that can really set in. And so if I can beat those times, then, you know, we're going to have a cool crop. I'm tripping. I'll talk to y'all soon, man. Peace.